You walked into any black home in the 70s and 80s and you'd see them. Right there on the coffee table, stacked. Dog-eared. Pages soft from being turned 1,000 times. Ebony and jet. Not just magazines, our encyclopedias, our proof. Our mirror when the world refused to reflect us back. And if you tried to throw out Mama's collection, Lord have mercy on your soul. Today, we're talking about the coffee table library that connected every black household in America. And by the end, you'll understand why these weren't just magazines. They were survival tools. They were lifelines in a world that tried to convince us we didn't exist, at least not in ways that mattered. They were proof that we were doctors and lawyers and artists and entrepreneurs when television told us we could only be maids and criminals. They were beautiful when the world called us ugly. They were documentation when history tried to erase us. They were connection when geography tried to separate us. They were pride when society demanded we feel shame. Every January, Mama renewed that subscription. Didn't matter if money was tight. Didn't matter if the lights were getting turned off next week. That Ebony subscription? Non-negotiable. Because for $12 a year, we got 12 months of seeing ourselves winning. 12 months of proof that we belonged in boardrooms, on stages, in laboratories. The mailman knew, third Thursday of every month, handle that package with care. That brown wrapper arriving was an event. The whole family gathered when it came. Mama opened it slow, ceremonial, like unwrapping something sacred. And in a way, it was. Inside that wrapper was validation. Inside was a world where we weren't invisible, where our achievements mattered, where our beauty was celebrated, without caveat or compromise. Kids knew not to interrupt when Mama was reading her Ebony. That was her time. Her moment to see herself reflected in pages that smelled of fresh ink and possibility. The subscription card lived in her purse, ready for renewal the moment it arrived. Some women kept their renewal receipts in their Bibles, right next to birth certificates and marriage licenses. That's how important it was. That's how much it mattered. The subscription renewal was almost religious in its consistency. Mama marked it on the calendar, set aside money specifically for it. And when that renewal notice came, she filled it out immediately. Didn't put it off, didn't wait. Because going even 1 month without Ebony felt like being cut off from oxygen. She needed it. We all needed it. The anticipation of that monthly delivery created its own rhythm in the household. The week it was due, somebody checked the mailbox twice a day. When it finally arrived, word spread through the house like wildfire. Ebony's here. And whatever you were doing, you paused. Because this was important. This was connection to something larger than our individual lives. This was confirmation that we were part of a national community of black excellence. The mailman became part of our ritual too. Mr. Johnson knew which houses got Ebony and jet. He handled those packages with extra care. Sometimes he'd comment, "This one's thick this month. Must be the Christmas issue." He understood he wasn't just delivering mail. He was delivering hope, pride, connection. He was the messenger bringing news from the world of black achievement into our living rooms. And he took that responsibility seriously. These magazines didn't just sit anywhere. They had a position. Front and center on that coffee table, arranged just so. The newest issue on top fanned out so you could see the past 3 months. When company came over, those magazines did the talking before we even said hello. They announced, "This is a household that values education, excellence, black achievement." Granny would side-eye you if you walked past without straightening that stack. That coffee table was sacred ground. The arrangement had rules, current month facing forward, cover visible. Previous issues stacked beneath at a slight angle so the titles showed. Nothing else could sit on top of them. Not cups, not remotes, not car keys. Those magazines were the centerpiece, and they commanded respect. Company would walk in and immediately gravitate to that table, pick up the latest issue, flip through while making small talk, and in that moment, a connection formed. Strangers became family over shared recognition of faces on those covers. Everyone knew someone who knew someone featured in Ebony. 6 degrees of separation before it was a theory. The coffee table was our cultural anchor, our conversation starter. Our silent testimony that said, "We are here, we are accomplished, we are worthy." And we're not apologizing for taking up space in our own living room. That coffee table arrangement was strategic theater. It was interior design as political statement. It was decoration as declaration. Every element was intentional. The placement near the front door so visitors saw it immediately. The lighting positioned to highlight the covers. The protective coasters placed nearby so nothing damaged those precious pages. Some families even had special stands or risers to display the magazines at the perfect angle. Mama dusted that coffee table daily. Not just surface dusting either. She lifted each magazine, wiped beneath it, checked for any damage, then replaced it exactly as it was. This wasn't housekeeping. This was curation. She was maintaining an exhibition of black excellence in her own living room. And when the stack got too high, she didn't throw the old ones away. She rotated them. Moved the oldest to storage boxes, brought up different issues from previous years. The coffee table was a living archive, constantly updated but never depleted. Guests understood the significance without anyone explaining it. You didn't put your feet up on that coffee table. You didn't carelessly flip through those magazines with greasy fingers. You handled them with respect. And if you were particularly interested in an article, you asked permission before taking a magazine to read more carefully. Because these weren't just public reading material. They were treasured possessions. Every man over 40 remembers. You knew exactly where to flip. Beauty of the Week wasn't just pretty pictures. It was representation. Black women being celebrated in every shade, every texture, every smile. No apologies. No explanations. Little girls memorized those faces. Practiced those poses in the mirror. Jet told us, "You are beautiful, exactly as you are." In a world that said otherwise every single day, that page was revolutionary. And yes, the uncles lingered on that page a little too long. We noticed. Granny noticed too and would clear her throat loudly when Uncle James spent too much time on that particular page. But here's what that page really meant. It was the first time many black girls saw beauty that looked like them, treated with dignity. Not exoticized. Not othered. Just beautiful. The models were college students, teachers, nurses. Real women with real lives. Each photo included her name, her hometown, her aspirations. She wasn't just a pretty face. She was somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody with dreams. The Beauty of the Week represented every region of the country. Women from Atlanta and Detroit and Los Angeles and Chicago and small towns nobody had heard of. It told us that black beauty existed everywhere. That you didn't have to be in New York or Hollywood to be beautiful. That the girl next door, the one who sang in the church choir, the one who worked at the bank downtown, she was beautiful too. Young men cut those pages out. Kept them in lockers, in wallets, in the back of textbooks. Not just because of beauty, but because those women represented what was possible. Education, ambition, grace. The Beauty of the Week told black men, this is what you should aspire to honor. This is what dignity looks like. And for every woman who appeared on that page, her family bought 50 copies. Sent them to relatives across the country, framed the page. Put it in the family archive right next to wedding photos and diplomas. Because representation wasn't just nice, it was survival. It was proof that we existed in fullness, not just in struggle. Churches announced it from the pulpit. Sister Johnson's daughter Denise is in this week's Jet magazine, Beauty of the Week. Everybody make sure you pick up a copy. The congregation would applaud. After service, people lined up to congratulate the family. It was a community celebration. One of ours had been recognized. One of ours had been deemed worthy of national attention. One of ours was beautiful enough to represent us all. The selection process felt democratic in a way. Jet featured women from all walks of life, different skin tones, different hair textures, different body types, different backgrounds. It wasn't just light-skinned women with European features. It wasn't just women from wealthy families. It was a genuine cross-section of black female beauty in all its diversity. And that mattered, because it told every black girl, you could be next. Your beauty is valid. Your particular combination of features and personality and dreams is worthy of celebration. November hit different when that thick ebony Christmas edition arrived. That wasn't a magazine, that was a manual for black excellence during the holidays. Recipes from soul food royalty. Fashion spreads showing us how to look dignified at the church Christmas program. Gift guides that understood our budgets but never our aspirations. Mama cut out those recipes and taped them inside her kitchen cabinet. We ate Ebony's elegant sweet potato casserole every Thanksgiving until 2003. That magazine essentially planned our holidays for 3 decades. The Christmas issue came out in November, giving us time to prepare, time to save money for those gifts. Time to practice those recipes before the big day. The cover always featured a beautiful black family, dressed impeccably, gathered around abundance. Not struggle. Not poverty. Abundance. Joy. Celebration. Inside, there were etiquette guides for hosting. How to set a proper table. How to write thank you notes. How to navigate office holiday parties as one of the few black employees. Ebony understood that we were navigating multiple worlds, and it gave us the tools to move through them with confidence and grace. The gift guides were genius. Categorized by price point, by recipient, by occasion. Ebony knew we were shopping for Mama, for the kids, for the church gift exchange, for the office secret Santa. And they knew our budgets varied wildly. So they showed us how to give thoughtfully at every price point. How to make $5 look like $50 through presentation and care. The Christmas issue became a family heirloom. Women passed down their collections from the 60s and 70s, showing daughters and granddaughters. This is how we celebrated. This is how we honored each other. This is how we created magic out of limited resources. Those magazines taught us that black excellence during the holidays wasn't about how much you spent. It was about how much love you poured into the details. The holiday issues were thicker than usual, sometimes doubling the normal page count. Extra advertisements from black-owned businesses. Extra features on holiday entertaining. Extra photographs of beautifully decorated homes. It was aspirational, yes, but also practical. Ebony showed us how to achieve that aspirational look on a realistic budget. The decorating features broke down the costs. Showed you where to splurge and where to save. Taught you how to make your own centerpieces, how to find elegant serving dishes at thrift stores, how to create ambiance with lighting and music rather than expensive decorations. It democratized elegance, made it accessible. Women studied those issues like textbooks, took notes in the margins, created shopping lists based on the gift guides, planned their entire holiday season around Ebony's recommendations. And then they compared notes with friends and neighbors. Did you see that recipe for bourbon sweet potatoes? Did you try that craft project with the kids? Did you find that dress they featured at the department store? The magazine created a shared cultural experience. A common reference point. A national conversation about how black families could celebrate the holidays with dignity and joy. Suggest throwing away a Jet magazine and watch Granny's face. You might as well have suggested burning the family Bible. Baby, that's history. And she was right, these weren't disposable, they were archives. Proof that we existed, achieved, survived. When the history books erased us, Ebony wrote us back in, so they stacked up. In closets, under beds. In the basement, in boxes labeled important. We were our own librarians protecting our own stories. Because we learned early, if we don't save our own history, nobody else will. White America certainly wasn't going to preserve the story of black achievement. So we did it ourselves, one magazine at a time. Those boxes in the basement weren't clutter. They were insurance against erasure. They were proof for future generations that we were here, that we built things, that we mattered. Granny had issues from the 60s. The original coverage of the March on Washington. The first black woman to win an Oscar. The first black astronaut. She kept every single one, wrapped in plastic, stored carefully. She knew what she was holding, primary source documents. When teachers told us there were no black scientists, we brought in Ebony. When they said there were no black CEOs, we brought in Ebony. When they tried to reduce our history to slavery and struggle, we brought in Ebony and said, we are also this. We are also excellence. We are also joy. The magazines became ammunition in the war against our own invisibility. And we guarded them accordingly. Try to clean out the basement and accidentally throw away one of those boxes? The wrath that followed was biblical. Those magazines weren't trash. They were legacy. The storage system was elaborate. Some families organized by year, others by subject matter. Some kept separate boxes for Ebony and Jet, others mixed them chronologically, but everyone had a system. Everyone knew exactly where to find specific issues. Need the one with the Muhammad Ali interview? Third box from the left, about halfway down. Looking for the Diana Ross wedding photos? Second box, near the top. The organization wasn't just practical. It was reverence. These magazines were treated with the same care as important legal documents or family photographs. They were protected from moisture, from pests, from damage. Some families even created climate-controlled storage spaces specifically for their magazine collections. The younger generation didn't always understand initially. Why are we keeping all these old magazines? Can't we just throw some of them away? But then Granny or Mama would sit you down, pull out a specific issue, and show you. This is from 1968. This is your grandfather on this page at this protest. This is documentation that he was there, that he fought for civil rights, that he mattered. Suddenly those boxes of magazines became precious. Suddenly you understood that you were the next guardian of this history. Suddenly you appreciated the weight of responsibility you were inheriting. You sat in any black doctor's or dentist's office, and there they were. The same magazines from your house, sometimes the exact same issue. It created this quiet solidarity. You'd pick up that 6-month-old Jet in Dr. Williams' waiting room, and even though you'd already read it at home, you'd flip through again. Because seeing Lena Horne's face in that waiting room meant something. It meant we take care of our own. This is a safe space. The waiting room magazine spread was strategic. Black professionals knew what those magazines signaled. They announced, this is a black-owned practice. This is a place where you will be seen, heard, respected. Where your concerns won't be dismissed. Where your pain will be believed. When white offices had Time and Newsweek and Golf Digest, we had Ebony and Jet and Essence. And that difference mattered. It told us that the doctor sitting behind that door understood our lives, understood our struggles, understood that our medical concerns existed in the context of systemic racism and historical trauma. You could relax in those waiting rooms. Breathe easier. Because the magazines on the table said, you're not going to have to explain yourself here. You're not going to have to code switch or shrink or apologize for taking up space. The magazines became a marker of cultural competence. If a black professional didn't have Ebony and Jet in the waiting room, you questioned whether they truly understood the community they were serving. Those magazines were more than decoration. They were declaration. They were screening tools too. They told you immediately whether this professional identified with the black community or was trying to distance themselves from it. The magazines announced allegiance, pride, connection. Some offices went further, displaying framed ebony covers on the walls, creating entire reading corners with full collections, making the space unmistakably, unapologetically black. And patients noticed. Patients appreciated it. It affected who they recommended to friends and family. It influenced where they chose to spend their money. The magazines had economic power too. When somebody died, an elder, a civil rights hero, an entertainer, you waited for Jet. The newspaper might give them 3 paragraphs. Jet gave them their dignity. Full-page obituaries with family photos. Their whole story told properly. Their legacy preserved in ink. Funerals got planned around Jet's coverage. Wait till Thursday's Jet comes out, it'll have the official word. Jet became our national archive of black excellence and loss. We cut those obituaries out, put them in albums. These were our people, and Jet made sure we remembered them properly. The obituary coverage in Jet wasn't just reporting. It was resurrection. It was taking a life that the mainstream media reduced to a footnote and saying, no, this person was monumental. This person changed the world. Let us tell you how. When Mahalia Jackson died, Jet ran a 10-page tribute. When Adam Clayton Powell died, Jet covered not just his death but his entire legacy. The political fights, the controversies, the triumphs, the complexity. Jet didn't sanitize our heroes. It honored them in full humanity. Families saved those obituary issues forever. They became part of the family archive, stored alongside the deceased's personal papers. Because Jet's coverage was often more thorough than any eulogy, more accurate than any newspaper account. Jet did the research, talked to the family, got the facts right. And in doing so, it gave us a model for how to honor our dead, how to speak their names with accuracy and love, how to preserve their legacies for generations who would never meet them but needed to know their stories. The obituary pages taught us that every black life was newsworthy. Every black death deserved dignity. Every black legacy deserved preservation. Jet made sure of it. Funeral programs often quoted directly from Jet's obituaries. Ministers read from them during eulogies. Family members passed around the magazine at repasts, pointing out photos and memories. Jet became our official biographer, our collective memory keeper. And we trusted Jet to get it right in ways we didn't trust anyone else. Eligible Bachelors of the Year might have been the most dangerous issue Ebony ever published. Single aunties planned road trips. Grandmothers started matchmaking campaigns. Somebody's cousin knew somebody who worked with Bachelor number 4, and suddenly the whole family was investigating. It was LinkedIn before LinkedIn existed. Professional black men and women showcased with their degrees, careers, and relationship goals. It told us, success looks like this. Partnership looks like this. Young people studied those spreads like textbooks, learning how to present themselves to the world. But here's what made those features revolutionary. They showed black excellence as desirable, as attractive, as worthy of pursuit. In a world that constantly denigrated black men as dangerous, as unworthy, as problems to be solved, Ebony said, "These men are prizes. They are educated, ambitious, emotionally intelligent, and ready for partnership. Look at them." The bachelors featured weren't just handsome. They were accomplished. Doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, educators. Each profile included their educational background, career achievements, hobbies, and what they were looking for in a partner. It was a catalog of black male excellence, presented without apology or qualification, and the bachelorettes? Same energy. Black women with advanced degrees, successful careers, community involvement, and clear relationship goals. Ebony presented them as complete human beings worthy of love and partnership, not as stereotypes or statistics. Families studied those issues for matchmaking purposes, yes, but also for modeling. This is what you should aspire to be. This is what a good partner looks like. This is the standard. The features became aspirational blueprints for an entire generation. Young men looked at those bachelors and thought, that's who I want to become. Young women looked at those bachelorettes and thought, that's the life I want to build. Parents pointed to those pages and told their children, study hard, build your career, develop yourself, so that one day you could be featured like this. Be somebody worth pursuing. The matchmaking attempts were legendary. Aunt Dorothy would see a bachelor from her hometown and immediately start plotting. She'd call every church mother she knew. Did anybody know his family? Could somebody make an introduction? Was he really single, or was Ebony being optimistic? The phone tree activated. Information gathered. By the time that issue had been out for 2 weeks, Aunt Dorothy had a full dossier on Bachelor number 7 and was planning a casual run-in at the grocery store. Some of those matchmaking attempts actually worked. There are marriages that exist today because somebody's grandmother saw an eligible bachelor issue and decided to play Cupid. The magazine literally created families, connected people who might never have met otherwise, facilitated partnerships that produced children and grandchildren. Ebony wasn't just documenting black life. It was actively creating it. Ebony sparked more dinner table conversations than the evening news. That magazine didn't just report, it challenged. An editorial about integration? The family had opinions. A feature about black capitalism? Daddy and Uncle James debated for 3 hours. Ebony made us think, question, dream bigger. It didn't talk down to us or dumb things down. It assumed we were intelligent enough to wrestle with complex ideas. And we were. Those conversations started by a magazine shaped how we saw ourselves and our place in America. The editorials pulled no punches. Lerone Bennett Jr. wrote about black history with scholarly rigor and accessible prose. He didn't simplify. He didn't condescend. He assumed his readers were intellectually curious and capable of engaging with complex historical arguments. And we rose to meet that expectation. Families debated the articles, agreed and disagreed, used them as starting points for deeper conversations about identity, politics, economics, and culture. Ebony became the curriculum for a generation of black people educating themselves about their own history and potential. The magazine tackled controversial topics head-on. Interracial marriage, colorism within the black community, the tensions between civil rights and black power movements, class divisions among black people. Ebony didn't shy away from internal community conflicts. It aired them, examined them, and challenged readers to think critically about their own assumptions and prejudices. Those debates mattered. They shaped political consciousness. They influenced voting patterns. They informed career choices. They affected how people raised their children. Ebony wasn't just documenting black life, it was actively shaping it, and the magazine knew it. The editors understood the responsibility they held. They understood that for many black families, Ebony was the primary source of information about black achievement and potential, so they took that responsibility seriously. Published meticulously researched articles. Featured diverse perspectives. challenged their readers to imagine bigger futures. Dinner table debates could get heated. Daddy and Uncle James didn't always agree, sometimes voices raised. Sometimes Mama had to intervene and remind everyone that they were family, that they could disagree without being disagreeable. But those debates were healthy. They taught children how to engage with complex ideas, how to form and defend opinions, how to listen to opposing viewpoints, how to change your mind when presented with compelling evidence. Ebony created a culture of intellectual engagement in Black households. It made thinking cool, made debate normal, made questioning authority acceptable. And it did all this while maintaining respect for elders and community. You could disagree with the article, but you had to articulate why. You had to have reasons. You had to have thought it through. Ebony demanded that level of engagement. And we benefited from it. Jet didn't flinch. When Emmett Till's mother insisted on an open casket, Jet published those photos. When the world wanted to look away from our pain, Jet said, "No, look. This is what they did." Remember, it wasn't sensationalism. It was documentation, evidence, testimony. Jet understood that our survival depended on truth-telling. So while TV news ignored our tragedies, Jet put them on the cover, made America confront what it wanted to forget. Those images hurt. And if you had to save just one issue from the stack, which would it be? Drop your memory below. Let's build the archive together, because that's what Ebony and Jet taught us. That our stories matter, that our memories are history, that preservation is resistance, that every coffee table in every Black home was a small act of defiance against a world that wanted us to disappear. We refused, we preserved, we remembered, and we passed it on.